On this week's video, I can actually say that because we're back to weekly videos. That's right, we're ending the how bad could it be experiment because mainly the movies were so terrible that they made my hair fall out. And I figured that, you know, with the times as they are, these rather bizarre circumstances that we're all in and continuing to be in, I know some people are going back to work and things are opening up, and things still seem pretty grim and uncertain at the point that I'm filming this, so I figured that we all need a little bit of good in the world. So to counteract the How Bad Could It Be series, this week I'm going to cover the 10 best horror films that I watched during quarantine. Watched a lot of good stuff and I figured I'd rattle them off. So let's check it out, starting with number 10. Although 2020's Underwater was a huge bomb at the box office, it seems like it's getting a lot of support from horror fans, and it's pretty easy to see why. This is about as classic of a throwback of a monster movie as you can imagine. Although the basic plot structure offers absolutely nothing new, a bunch of characters have to get from point A to point B in an enclosed area and get picked off one by a monstrous creature, it throws in enough fresh moments to stand out. There's no setup at all to this movie. The action literally starts within the first 5 minutes, which might be my only complaint, because even though it was interesting to see things kick off right away, it sacrifices a bit of time that could have developed our characters a little bit more. That's not a deal breaker though, as some of the fun action sequences and a cool looking final monster who may or may not be familiar make up for it all. Number 9. If you watched my video on obscure horror films that I loved, you'd know how much I dug Lake Mungo and its faux documentary style. Well, Butterfly Kisses from 2018 uses a similar formula to create a pretty solid flick. The premise isn't completely original, as a wannabe filmmaker discovers a trove of old tapes of a couple of younger film students trying to capture a supernatural entity on tape. A documentary crew is covering his attempts to take that footage and make a movie out of it, so there's 3 separate stories here. The students in the past, Gavin trying to make his film, and a documentary crew depicting his descent into madness. It's well written, weaving the multiple storylines together, and only bogs down in the middle for a bit. It offers some good creep-out moments, although there's some acting that's a bit iffy and a few glaring plot holes, although I have to say the premise of finding a found footage horror film and yet nobody believing the film actually being the problem and delving into that is one I haven't seen before. By the ending of this film, we still don't know if it's all been faked or not, and that's a really great little hook to the film. Number 8. From 2019, we get a nice little psychological thriller called Daniel Isn't Real. It seems like its biggest notoriety is coming from the fact that it features Arnold Schwarzenegger's son Patrick as the titular Daniel. It's sort of a horror drop-dead Fred, as a young man unleashes his childhood imaginary friend after locking him away for most of his life. Contrary to that film's comic shenanigans, this friend is up to way more devilish deeds. A good portion of the tension of this film comes from the balancing act of wondering if Daniel's actually just a figment of Luke's imagination, or if there's something more sinister happening. It's got some fresh turns and nice acting, although it does trip and stumble a bit in the final act, and there's a really cool creature effect that I just wish that they didn't show so damn much. Overall, I'd definitely check this one out. It's not a great movie, but I really enjoyed it. Number 7. Alright, man, this is a tough one to recommend, but 2015's Cat Sick Blues is absolutely worth a watch. This was one of the more unsettling movies that I've seen in recent history, and it's guaranteed to leave you feeling a little uneasy. It's about a guy who loses his cat and decides to bring it back to life by killing 9 people while wearing a cat mask and claws. Oh, and a fake cat penis. Don't forget the cat penis. Even though the setup sounds like a trauma film, the execution is what sets it apart. It's shot and directed so well, it's sort of mesmerizing. The performances are great and pulls you into these characters, and I'll leave a warning here that this film is absolutely not for everyone, so keep that in mind if you seek it out, but I really loved this film. I thought it was gorgeous, the soundtrack was fantastic, and it's absolutely worth a watch. Number 6. 2018's Headhunter is a great example of what great things you can achieve with very, very little. It was shot on a budget of around $30,000 and features only 2 actors with very little dialogue. It's a fantastic exercise in atmosphere and set design. It's the story of a medieval hunter in a fantasy world obsessed with hunting monster heads, but always on the search for the one that killed his daughter. Check out the IMDb page for this flick and you'll see only about 10 people listed, and some of those are music and thanks. And I guess that there was times where there would only be 4 people on set at any given time on this film, but you'd never know it to look at it. It's a great flick that knows when to keep things unseen from both a budget standpoint as well as a story one, although I have to admit that I really wasn't that crazy about the ending. Number 5. I saw Possum on a bunch of best of lists back in 2018, and I just kept putting it off, and man, I'm really sorry I did. This was a mesmerizing descent into one man's madness, and it's just beautifully told. I'm warning you right now that it's a really slow-going movie. If you don't like movies like The Witch and Blackcoat's Daughter, then you're not going to like this one. It's really not that scary, but it is pretty disturbing. You see, Philip here is a puppeteer, and he has this puppet which is just... It's just the creepiest thing you're going to see this year. All of his attempts to destroy or lose the puppets fail, and his psyche falls apart, and even if you think that you know where this one's going, it switches up the game for a very satisfying ending. The performances in this film are also outstanding, and it's a very high recommend from me. Number 4. Holy crap, I don't even know how to sum this one up. Okay, 2018 brought us the immense joy that is Velocipaster. Even though the title sounds like some weird sci-fi channel knockoff movie, trust me, it's far better than that.
What?
It's a straight-up parody of grindhouse cinema, but you can tell that there's a genuine love for the genre. It's extremely sharply written.
I don't believe you. Dinosaurs never existed, and even if they did, I don't transform into one.
Competently acted, and features twists and turns that you'd, literally never see coming in a million years. The effects are delightfully and intentionally crappy. The dinosaur transformation is more T-Rex than it is Velociraptor that the title seems to promise, and the suit is hilarious. After coming off of so many How Bad Can It Be movies that were just terrible, terrible films, it was fun to watch a film made on a similar budget that just knew how to lean into the budget and make something that was making fun of terrible films instead of just simply being one. This one's probably even better after partaking in some substances, but I mean, they're not necessary to have a damn good time. Number 3. Jeff Bezos has already proved himself with Almost Human and Bliss, so his 2019 film VFW already had a lot going for it. And then, listen to this cast list. Stephen Lang, William Sadler, Fred Williamson, Martin Covey, George Wendt, David Patrick Kelly, and then take the whole movie and then just cover it. And I mean just cover it in Carpenter. It's like he knew that there were going to be Precinct 13 comparisons, so he just ran with it. And the story is pretty much just Precinct 13 with our band of heroes trapped inside a VFW. It's in the title. With a whole gang full of punks outside trying to get in. It's a roller coaster ride full of delicious violence and giving these established actors room to have fun with their roles. Oh, and it's easily the most violent film I've seen in a damn long time. So buckle up and just give this one a watch. Number 2. So yeah, Mandy. It's from 2018 and receiving very strong acclaim for its striking visuals, and believe me, they are striking. They're so striking, the Writers Guild is asking them for advice. Story-wise, it doesn't really offer anything fresh, but this is a case of the story not mattering, but the storyteller. Yeah, it's a basic revenge flick, but trust me, you haven't seen this take on it. Nick Cage plays Nick Cage doing Nick Cage things, but they're not too distracting, and his unique acting style fits the oddball world that's been created here.
You're in my shirt! You're in my shirt!
This one you're either gonna love or hate, but if you appreciate cinematography, this is pretty much the movie for you. It's another slow burner, much like a few of the movies on this list, but again, it's never a boring film, and it's just totally engaging from start to finish. And here we go, number 1. Glenn Danzig's Veronica. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's a terrible movie. It's not even so bad it's fun, it's just a terrible movie, don't watch it. Number 1. Back in 2012, Jeremy Gardner made this great little zombie flick called The Battery, and it was one of my favorite films of that year. Well, he did it again with 2019's After Midnight. It's another stripped-down film with limited cast and locations, and I guess like several things on this list, it's a slow burner of a movie, so if you're looking for a fast-paced action, this one's not for you. Go watch VFW for that. It's about Hank here and the monster that's been showing up at his house every night after his wife mysteriously up and leaves him. It's about 80% character drama and 20% monster movie, but don't let that stop you from checking it out because it's just marvelous. The characters are fully formed and very interesting. The mystery keeps you on your toes, and it's ultimately one of the sweetest films I've seen in recent history. The ending may be a bit abrupt, but damn, it was exactly what I wanted out of it. Huge recommendations from me on this one. So there you have it, 10 movies that I watched recently. I guess the 10 movies in the past 5 years that I've really enjoyed. These were things that I had in my catalog of movies that I needed to watch and just hadn't watched, and finally had some time to get to them. And damn, there was some good flicks in here. I recommend all of these to check out. Some of them are a little bit better than others, and I also say that I think my tastes are a little specific. If you can't tell from watching these, I tend to like things that are a little quieter, a little slower, more dramatic movies. But I also do like a fun, silly, fast-paced, action-y one as well too. So there's a little bit of something for everybody in this list. So check them out. Tell me what you think. If you've seen these, let me know what you've thought down below. I'd be surprised if you haven't seen Mandy. That one's been pretty hyped up. And let me know some other good ones that you've seen recently. Let me know what your favorite horror flicks that you've watched during the quarantine time is. And as always, do the whole like, subscribe, share the video out there. Check out the patrons over here because these guys have been awesome. Thank you very much for helping keep this channel going and helping support the channel and help me get new equipment and new fun things to make this channel even better. So a big thank you to those guys, and a big thank you to you for watching these videos. I appreciate it very much, and I'll see you next week for another great one. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.